wide recognition in February this year in Los Angeles when he beat Ruben Navarro of Mexico, and so became the undisputed 9 stone 9 champion of the world. Carlos Hernandez, 31, who was the world 10 stone champion from 1965 to 66, who's had 71 professional fights, and many of them against the world's top lightweights and welterweights. So Buchanan, having stolen the first round with some beautiful boxing, Hernandez now knows what he's up against. Only arrived in this country on Sunday. Natty ring boots of Hernandez with his initials on the 2 boot tongues. Carlos Hernandez, not hot and cold. Punch there from Buchanan, caught Hernandez unawares. This man's got a bit of a dig, Hernandez, and Buchanan can't take chances against him because he's won 41 fights inside the distance. That's out of 57 wins. Some of those inside the distance wins against many of the world's top boxers. Is taking his time and pacing himself like an old stager does. And finding Buchanan a very elusive target. Buchanan, I know, desperately wanting to look good in front of a British crowd tonight, who haven't seen him before in his role as world champion. Little hooks inside from Hernandez. He's caught Buchanan once or twice in this round. A sneak right hand once. And signs of danger there for Buchanan. Hernandez opened up once or twice there and showed a bit of class. And as I said, Buchanan can't take this man lightly. On some ranking lists, he's still ranked as the number 3 contender for the lightweight championship, and on other lists, the number 6 contender. But whichever way you look at it, a very formidable opponent. He's been a pro now since 1959, when Buchanan was only 13 years old. His full record is 71 fights, won 57, drawn 4, and lost 10. That's not bad out of 71 to only lose 10, and only 4 of those as he lost inside the distance. He had 3 successful world title fights. He won the title, the Junior Welterweight Championship, from Eddie Perkins of America in 1965, and defended it twice against Mario Rosita of Colombia and Percy Hales of Jamaica, and then lost the title in Rome to Italy's Sandro Lopopolo in 1966 on a disputed points decision. Buchanan conceding reach. Buchanan did in Puerto Rico was really quite startling. For any British fighter to go abroad and win a world title is almost unheard of. And in fact, he was the first man to do it since the days of Ted Kid Lewis, way back in something like 1917, I think. Hernandez with the true veteran's composure. Breathing a little heavily. Absolute poker face, Hernandez. He missed with those punches. Turned away from the ropes, came back to the center, and there wasn't a flicker of emotion on his face. That's a good right uppercut. I don't know what Hernandez is doing standing around on those ropes. Buchanan getting the jabs in and getting the right guard up to guard against the counters. Good round this for Buchanan. Dominated it. He got a little bit of a damaged eardrum when he defended his world title in Los Angeles against Navarro, but it's apparently cleared up now. He's been a professional now nearly 6 years, Buchanan, and lost only one fight, and you might remember that one because we televised it from Madrid when he lost a European title fight to Miguel Velasquez. A decision which I must say I thought was right, but all my colleagues on the British press thought was absolutely wrong, so we had to agree to differ. He's had 40 fights and won 39, and there's just been that one controversial defeat. Ken very anxious indeed to box up in Scotland, where he comes from, of course. In the whole of his professional career, he's only fought there 3 times, and not since December 1968. This Wembley crowd watching this bout in fascinated silence, watching the unfolding of the tactics, and to see whether Buchanan can keep up this superiority which is established in the opening rounds. One low there, Sidney from the referee, cautions Hernandez. Jerked his head right back and another one catches him. And Hernandez doesn't quite know where those are coming from. Licking out those punches, fast and accurate. And Hernandez didn't see them coming. This brave-looking Venezuelan with a profile like a proud hawk. right hand from Buchanan. Buchanan, not a destructive puncher, but puts plenty of them in, and he's accurate with them. In his earlier days, Hernandez used to sport quite a gay moustache, but he's shaved that off. You get the feeling with Hernandez that there's plenty there if he opens up with it. That's another good one for Buchanan, who's won 3 of the first 4 on my card. And an appreciative round of applause from this Wembley crowd here for the way Buchanan boxed that round. He's a little master of the ring now. Well, it's a great occasion to be at Wembley on a night like this when we see one of those rare creatures, a British world champion, in action as champion for the first time. He still holds, of course, the British lightweight title, which he won more than 3 years ago from Maurice Cullen, and has defended once against Brian Hudson in this ring a year ago, and Hudson lasted only 5 rounds, and in fact has just recently retired from the ring. I wonder if he could make it another 5th round one tonight.
Seconds out, round 5.
Hernandez has got plenty to do if he wants to get into this. He's got to show a little more than he has so far. I feel that it's there, well, one knows it's there in the class of the man, but he's seldom opened up. Hernandez had another go at regaining his old title a couple of years ago. He went to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and fought the local boy Nicolino Locchi, but lost a points decision in an outdoor stadium at which 35,000 people were present. Well, since losing that world title fight 2 years ago, he's won all his 6 fights since. There's an extraordinary bit of evasive ducking by Buchanan. And Buchanan's nose is bleeding. He hasn't got off scot-free. And that's a little more like the stuff he showed in Madison Square Garden. He's woken the pace up. He got hurt on those ropes when he was doing the ducking and diving. He got his nose caught, and that stirred him into a bit of action. And that's much more like the stuff I saw in New York. Serious, incidentally, that injury. It's only a speck of blood. And Buchanan is hurt somewhere on the face because he's got his hand up and he's grimacing now in some pain. Might be his nose, I would think, which has already been hurt. Now it's up on his head, and he's looking at his glove to see if he's bleeding, and he's got a mark high up on his forehead. Obviously a crack of heads inside. Little reminder there to Buchanan that he can't afford to loaf about with this man. He really did wince when they came in at close quarters. I thought perhaps it was his nose which has been damaged a bit, but he put his hand up high to his head and then looked at his glove to see if he'd been cut up there. But he clearly hasn't been. Eddie Thomas with him, his manager, talking to him. Eddie Thomas, former British and Empire welterweight champion and European champion in his time, who of course also managed Howard Winston, another world champion. So Eddie's been a very successful manager indeed. So a little bit of trouble in that round for Buchanan, who must now, I think, really push the pace on a bit and try to dazzle this man with speed and really set a fast pace which the older man should not be able to match. Hernandez, remember, is 31 and has been around a very long time. Hernandez just fancying his chance a bit now. Hernandez getting that right glove up to block these jabs of Buchanan's. Beautiful stylist, Hernandez. He's got all the correct textbook moves. Look at that nonchalant way he took that on his glove. Tricky moments for Buchanan because he's not setting a fast pace and he's allowing Hernandez to do quite a lot of work. And he's rather letting this man take initiative away from him. We're not seeing the real Quicksilver Buchanan, not by any means. Well, maybe you heard. And now Hernandez has got a speck of blood at his nose. And Buchanan is cut over his left eye. The world champion is cut somewhere above his left eye. These are dangerous moments for Buchanan now. Now we'll go back to the corner with Buchanan and see the extent of that trouble. And he seems to be cut just in the corner between his nose and the left eyebrow. And Eddie Thomas has really got to do some work. He's a marvellous cutsman, Thomas, because he has taken Danny Holland's place in the, or did rather, in the Henry Cooper corner, and he did some marvellous work on some cuts that Cooper sustained in the closing stages of his career. That's a really marvellous shot of a corner in action at a very urgent moment. And referee Sid Nathan's come over, and you can see Thomas saying, "It's all right, I can cope." Nathan's not too happy about it. He's staying there a long time having a look. I think he wanted Eddie to get the swab off it so he could see what it was really like.
Seconds out, round 7.
Now then, these are tricky moments for Buchanan here against Carlos Hernandez of Venezuela. There's a lot of grease on Hernandez's face, which Sid Nathan's going to have off. He's got it smeared all over his forehead. Inch thick. This is not vintage Buchanan by any means. More like it. His footwork hasn't been as good as I've seen it at times. He's not really moved around this ring very much. Almost too casual about it, Ken, tonight. Jab and move, that's what's wanted, with an eye to protect. He knows it's bleeding again. It's running down the inside of his nose. Good punches. Nasty, but Hernandez is in trouble. 7th round. Just over half a minute left of this one. This is what the crowd's been waiting to see. Buchanan really open up. Good round for Buchanan, despite the worsening of the eye injury. For the first time, Hernandez's mouth now is beginning to sag open, and he's finding it hard to get his breath because his nose is well damaged now. And the Venezuelan now looking rather the worse for wear and beginning very much to look his age, and he's in real trouble now. We're on time. The bell's going to ring any second. Hernandez was tottering on the very brink of defeat at that moment. He suddenly looked very old indeed, and you could see him really struggling to get breath. We can have another look now at the way Buchanan set them together there and really had this man in trouble in the 7th round. Here we are. What a right hand that was. He very nearly went down. You could see his left arm going up to try and find support. And Buchanan couldn't quite get a clean shot, and then the bell, and here we are in the interval again. Sid Nathan's gone to Hernandez's corner to see if he's all right, and he's coming out for the 8th. And it's a scheduled 10-rounder. Buchanan's eye injury a little worse that time, and feeling it. Now he's got a patch of what they call new skin, artificial skin above the eye. Now we'll see whether Hernandez has got very much left. He's got 3 to go, including this one. Buchanan really needed to put those together because he was letting the initiative slip away. And Hernandez looks to me to be ready to go. And he's stopping it. It's all over. It's all over in the 8th round after 28 seconds of the 8th. The world lightweight champion, Ken Buchanan of Edinburgh, has stopped his debut in this country as the world champion. He wasn't looking too good for a time, and then suddenly began to really put them together. And he really had the old man tottering, the former world junior welterweight champion, tottering all over the place. And Sid Nathan was right to stop it because he was ready to go.
The contest to avoid Hernandez taking further punishment. Buchanan is the winner.
When Thomas puffed along